Another patch of nothing. Oh my gosh, Janna Buffs. In 13.8, Riot buffed Janna by increasing the damage on her W by 10 per level and increasing the AP ratio by 10. They also made the decay timer on her shield from 1.25 to 2.5 seconds. When I first saw this, I was a bit skeptical if this would actually help her, but her win rate went from 50.58% to 51.79%. So basically, Janna is strong again. That being said, I wanted to make an updated guide with the current best runes and itemization because a lot has changed since my last guide. If you haven't checked that out, I'd recommend watching it because I'm not going to cover as many topics as I did in that video. Let's jump right into the runes. Even as a glacial shill, I still tested the Airy build on Janna because I wanted to see if it was better after the damage buff on W. While I do think it makes trading in lane a lot better, I still think Glacial is the best keystone for Janna. I think that Glacial is a lot more reliable of a keystone that creates a lot more kill pressure in lane and does more in the later game. The increased slow with Janna's items and passive along with the synergy with Font of Life makes Glacial too hard to pass up. For the rest of the runes in the inspiration tree, I like to go Stopwatch, Biscuits, and Cosmic Insight. In my previous guide, I took Time Warp Tonic, but it got a lot of nerfs since then, so now I go Cosmic. For the secondary, I go Font of Life and Revitalize. Janna can proc Font of Life really easily with her Q, and the slow on Glacial will continually activate it as long as the enemy is slowed from it. Revitalize is just the best non-mythic rune on Janna and any enchanter because it synergizes well with their kits. These two secondary runes with Janna's kit and Glacial consistently get keystone level value. A big part of why I think Glacial is a superior keystone is because of the interaction with Glacial and Font of Life. Finally, for the shards, I like to go Ability Haste, Adaptive, and then depending on the enemy comp, any of these are fine. If the enemy bot lane is double AD, I'll go Armor, if they go double AP, I'll go MR, and if their comp is mixed, I just go Health. I tried going double Adaptive to get the most out of the W buffs, but Ability Haste is just too good to give up. So these are my updated Janna runes. For my spells, I always go Flash and Heal because Janna gets a lot of increased healing from her E passive and items. For the abilities, I either go the standard E max, or I put 2 points in W and then max E to utilize the fully increased damage on her W. I usually go 2 points in W when I have a very trade heavy lane. Moving on to the itemization, I think there are a lot of scenarios where you should go Relic over Spell Thieves. In matchups where you are outranged or it's super hard to trade, you can sit back and scale safely in the laning phase. I found that when I went Spell Thieves into bad matchups, I always end up either taking bad trades because I want to proc my stacks or being super behind because I don't get the opportunity to proc it. Relic is a nice solution to getting around that, especially after they buffed the health regen on it in 13.4. The next items you will get are going to be boots and you'll prioritize Amp Tome or Kindle Gem. I think after the buffs, getting flat AP is fine in trade heavy lanes, but it's not worth upgrading the Bandoglass Mirror because it's better to prioritize health over mana regen and ability haste early. If you have the gold to buy Fairy Charm, you should buy it, but otherwise prioritize these items. Moving on, I think if you are playing an enchanter, you should always skip upgrading tier 2 boots and rush a mythic. The power spike you get as an enchanter after you get a mythic is one of the strongest spikes in the game. The earlier you can get it, the better. Now for the mythic choice, I always and still prefer Moonstone over Shirelia's. I think Shirelia's feels nice to play because it's a lot more active and you're fast, but the stats you get from Moonstone is just better. In a lot of scenarios, you can win fights by stat checking the enemy because they cannot deal with all the amplified heals and shields. Once you get your mythic, your core is going to be Ionian Boots, which can be swapped out depending on the draft, and it's either going to be Redemption or Mikhail's second. This also depends on the draft, but these two items are the best to go second because of the 16% increased heal and shield power and the actives of both. Most of the time, you are going to go Redemption after Moonstone, and sometimes you might not even have to build Mikhail's. After the second item, you can get most of the Forbidden Idol items except Chemtech Putrefier. Don't get this anymore on Janna because they removed being able to trigger Grievous Wound on allies when you heal or shield them. It's not worth getting Oblivion Orb either because Janna can't trigger it well. Your core will be Ionian Boots, Moonstone, and Redemption, and you could add any of these depending on the game's draft. If your team has a lot of AP, go Staff. If you have more auto-based champions, go Ardent.